Is tennis about to face its biggest crisis ever? That is the question we're asking today. Hey everyone, Simon here with Love Tennis. Now, a few days ago, Indian Wells, which is considered to be almost a Grand Slam, it's so big, it's the fifth biggest tournament in the world after the four majors, it was cancelled due to the coronavirus. Now, this is something that's never happened before that I can remember, a major event like this being cancelled due to a virus. Now, when the news first broke, many fans were questioning why we didn't carry on with the event and why we didn't have no spectators involved in the tournament. So have the matches carry on, have the whole tournament broadcast on TV, but have no spectators in the stands, have no spectators on the grounds. This is happening in Europe right now with many football matches. Even teams like Juventus and Man United are playing with no spectators. So why couldn't tennis do the exact same thing? And in this video, I'll break down some of the numbers that are required to run a tennis tournament of this kind of level and why football has a huge advantage over us in terms of having no spectators and still carrying on with the event. Now, the concern is that we're leading into the European clay court swing, and there are tournaments in Spain, in France, in Italy, and of course the major, which is the French Open in Paris. All of these places are experiencing a surge in numbers of people who are being infected, who are then dying as well. So this is a very serious outbreak, and this is a very serious issue, especially in Italy where the outbreak has exploded. 60 million people are now in quarantine in their homes in Italy. So for the Rome Masters event, it's a huge doubt that that will take place. Now next week we head into the Miami Masters event, which is that double swing, Indian Wells followed by Miami. Many players have now left Indian Wells. They've arrived in Miami for like a small training block before the tournament is due to begin next week. But here is the major issue. There have been cases in Miami. So by next week, who knows what the situation will be like in Miami. I highly doubt that tournament will carry on with spectators, if at all. Here are the issues that the tournament referees, the tournament organizers are facing. Now, if we look at football and we look at each team is going to have roughly around 18 or 20 players. You've got the main 11, the starting lineup, and then you've got the substitutions. Then you'll have the managers and the physios. So roughly around 5 or 6 extra members of staff, non-playing members of staff. So roughly we'll have around 25 people from each team. Then we'll have the referees, the lines people, so we'll have around 5 people involved on the pitch. And then of course we'll have the people who are involved with the cameras, the broadcasting, the presenters, and so on. So roughly you'll need around 75 people for a football match to be played with no spectators, which is a doable thing, and this is something that will reduce the risk of that virus spreading. Now, when we compare that to tennis, the numbers are massively different. In the Monte Carlo Masters Event, which is taking place in Monaco in a few weeks' time on the clay, or is due to take place in a few weeks' time. Now, that event has 56 players in the main draw, we have 28 players in the qualifying, and we have 64 players, so 32 teams in the doubles. Of course, there's going to be some players who are playing singles and doubles, so there'll be some crossover, but the majority of doubles players now focus mainly on doubles. So we have around 200 players who are required to be at this tournament in order for the tournament to begin. Now, when the matches are going on, currently we'd have 7 officials. So we'd have the umpire plus the lines people, so 6 lines people on the court. Then we also need the ball boys. So we have roughly 5 ball boys per match on each court. Now for the ball boys and ball girls, they'll need to be swapping constantly. I know that at Wimbledon they do 45-minute rotations, and the next team comes on and then they have 45 minutes off. So they're always swapping. Then of course we need the people who are doing the broadcasting. So we need the cameramen, we need the managers behind the scenes, and we also need the commentators. So roughly around 50 people for that broadcasting behind the scenes. Now every match court would have around 4 to 5 matches per day the first few days. The first 3 or 4 days they'll have 4 or 5 matches on those main match courts. So already just with the ball boys, the ball girls, the lines people, the officials, and with the singles and doubles players, you're looking at a couple of 100 people to run the event. Now we add in the teams. So teams like Nadal's team, Djokovic's team, Dominic Thiem's team, all of these teams will have at least 3, 4, or 5 people at any given time at any event. Now, Djokovic, Nadal, they're known to travel in quite large groups. Sometimes you'll see Nadal with an entourage of 10 people. His girlfriend, his sister, his mom, his dad. Now, they don't travel at every event, but at the major events, they show up and they watch the finals. Now, if we look at it, each player is going to be traveling at least with their coach, possibly with a fitness trainer, possibly with their physio, and then the top guys, of course, will be traveling with managers and with nutritionists, etc. So the teams are going to be either around 2 to 3 people or up to 5 or 6 people. So if we average it out at 3 people per team, we're looking at a total of around 600 people just for the event to take place. The players, the coach, and maybe a girlfriend, or a player, a coach, and a fitness trainer. Now, per day, if you're having 5 or 6 match courts and they're each having 4 or 5 matches on them, then you're looking at the officials being around 150. Then we add in the tournament directors, the physios on site, the stringers, chefs who are cooking the food, and we're looking at around 800 people per day in order to run the event without spectators. So this is a massive difference between a football match, which will require around 75, and then a tennis match, which will require, or a tennis tournament, which will require around 800 people per day in the first few days of that event. So how do we make this possible in tennis? Now, there are a few solutions. You can limit the amount of people that each player can bring. So you could say you're only allowed to bring your coach, for instance. That would reduce it straight away from, instead of 600, to 400. So 400 people, that would be the player and only the coach. Then we could also take away the ball boys and ball girls. So the players could pick up their own balls. They could then reduce that number even more. Then you could also take away the lines people, and the only person on the court with the players would be the umpire. So there'd only be 3 people involved in the singles matches and 5 people in the doubles matches. So if we take away the lines people, if we take away the ball boys and ball girls, and we take away all the unnecessary people from the teams, so only the player and the coach, you're looking at roughly 460 people per day to run the event with no fans. This is still significantly higher than we have in football. So what is another solution? It's maybe to reduce the size of the draw. Instead of having 56 players in the main draw, reduce that down to only 32 players, a 32 size draw, or even a 16-player size draw. So you only play that first round, then you go straight to the quarterfinals, semis, and final. So there are some solutions, but the issue with reducing the draw would then be the players who are lower ranked, who really need that prize money, even if they're losing first or second round. Those are the players who start to suffer. They'll go off and play challenger events, they'll lose a bunch of points, and then those guys will be quite pissed off with the tour because now they're losing money at these prestigious events, but the big guys are still making that money and still winning and actually have easier draws because now they have to win less matches to actually win the event. Now this is where the real crisis kicks in. So we have Miami next week due to begin, possibly going to be either postponed or cancelled altogether. If they do play it, it's probably going to have no spectators. Then we head into Europe. We've got the Monte Carlo Masters Event, which is in Monaco, of course, but it's only about 15-20 minute drive to the Italian border. And that's the northern part of Italy, which was hit the hardest by the virus at the beginning. And that's where the first quarantine zone was set up, in that region of Italy. So that is a big question mark. Will that tournament go ahead? And if it does, will it have spectators? Because every year when I've traveled there for filming, I've noticed that there's a huge amount of Italian people that come on buses over from Italy. They spend a day and then they drive back in the evening. Now, if you take away all those people traveling, the revenue for each tournament is going to go down significantly. Now, they'll still make money from broadcasting on TV, of course, with the ads, etc., but they're going to lose a massive amount of money. Now, in the 2 weeks after the Monte Carlo event, you have a couple of smaller events, and you have one of the major ones is Barcelona. Now, Spain is also experiencing an outbreak. So do they also have a high risk of cancelling that event or having it with no spectators? Possibly yes. You also have an event in Munich in Germany, which is also experiencing high levels of these cases coming on a daily basis. Then the next major event would be the Madrid Open. Now, Spain has been hit, but not as hard as Germany or as Italy, but it's still rising on a daily basis. So who knows what the next few weeks will look like in Spain. The week after Madrid is then the Rome event. So Rome, of course, Italy is locked down right now. Can it improve by the time that tournament is set to begin? Who knows? And then, of course, we have the French Open, played in Paris, and the crowds are always massive. It's quite a small area. There isn't too much space. It's not like a US Open where the grounds are massive. The grounds are much smaller, so people are more jammed together. Will they look at having that event with no spectators? Will they reduce the number of spectators on a daily basis? Or will they cancel the entire event? Now, all of this, of course, depends on the next few weeks. How the governments of these different countries will deal with the virus, how the virus spreads, does it start to die out because of the spring kicking in? All these question marks are left hanging, but right now tennis is looking at a small crisis, but it could turn into a major crisis. Now that's just my opinion, but what do you guys think? I want to hear from you. Leave your comments down below. Do you think I'm blowing this way out of proportion, or do you think these are legitimate concerns? Now myself, I was due to go to Indian Wells today. I'm supposed to be on the flight right now, and we were supposed to be holding 2 events in Indian Wells, very close to the garden itself, and we've had to cancel those because most of the players that were coming, they were coming from all around the world. Most of the players didn't feel confident enough to visit the area, so we've had to cancel both events. Now we were also scheduled to fly in to Monaco and attend the Monte Carlo Masters, but we've cancelled those flights simply because we feel that event is at high risk of also being cancelled. Now the major issue here would be if a few of the players started catching this virus and spreading it amongst themselves while at these events. That would be a huge concern, and this is something that probably the officials have put into consideration when cancelling Indian Wells. It only takes one player, maybe an Italian player, maybe one of the players coming from China. They only need to carry that virus, and there is people who are carrying the virus and showing no symptoms. And if they're playing those events, they're mingling with all the players. They're around the officials, they're around the players, they're around the referees. This could spread really quickly in a confined space such as the tour. So that is the major concern. If one player or official or one of the coaches catches this virus, it will start to spread like wildfire amongst all of the players. You have to think these players are together on a daily basis. They go in the gym, they warm up together, they're training on the same practice courts, they're staying in the same hotels. So this could spread really quickly on both the ATP and the WTA tours. Now maybe one of the players or one of their team members or an official has already caught the virus, and that is why they've cancelled the Indian Wells event, because they know for the next 2 weeks all of the players, all of the people that came into contact with that person is at high risk of developing the illness. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, click that like button and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on that notification bell so you get our latest videos as soon as we release them. And make sure that you leave your comments below. Let me know exactly what you think about this whole situation. Signing off, Simon with Love Tennis. All the best and see you soon.